All right, thank you guys for joining us for our presentation. We are Culz Paranormal Studio. My name is Keegan. Me and my brother formed this group with my uncle in 2008. And then Sam came on in 2011, and then Matt was 2013. And so we're going to talk to you guys about all things paranormal. So first off, what do you guys think the paranormal means?
Ghost.
Yeah, so the paranormal encompasses three branches. One is ghosts, the other is UFOs, and the third is cryptids. We're going to talk about a little bit of each because we've kind of researched, investigated, and visited some of these sites. So there is actually a National Ghost Hunting Day. Usually it's the last Saturday of September. So we're a little bit past when it usually happens, but it was established July 2016. So fairly recently, much like any day now, there's something going on. Now, ghost hunting's actually been around since probably about the mid to late 1800s as more of a kind of study. Early on, you had some people trying to ghost hunt, but the real first kind of ghost hunter was actually Harry Houdini, or Mr. Eric Weiss, who was more going around debunking some of the faulty and fake psychics of the time. He, more than anything, wanted to believe, but at the same time, he hated the fact that people were getting ripped off, especially at that time, right after World War I, where people were in a really kind of bad state because a lot of their sons or husbands had perished in the war. And Houdini just didn't like people getting taken advantage of. And he would actually go around learning how the psychics would kind of do their seances, which usually happened in a pitch black room, which again makes it really easy to fake a lot of this stuff. His most famous one was with a Boston medium named Marjorie, and he wrote a 76-page pamphlet explaining her whole routine. And then after that, she really got angry and kind of blasted him along with her friend Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And you would actually probably not think that the guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes was big into fake psychics. That brings us more into the mid-1900s. And does anyone know who the couple is right there?
Warren.
Yeah, Ed and Lorraine Warren. You guys might have seen the movie The Conjuring, which is about them. Now, as far as the ghost hunting world, there's a lot of people that believe them, there's a lot of people that don't, so they're kind of in that middle realm, but they are pretty influential as far as kind of getting it more into the mainstream. And then that brings it up to the late 2000s is when it really took off. Most thankful to the show Ghost Hunters, the Atlantic Paranormal Society. And then nowadays it's Ghost Adventures, which I'm sure some of you guys have probably seen both those shows. Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, we were formed in 2008, more of just a paranormal group, but we have so many different interests, and especially during the COVID quarantine, it was really hard to get into any buildings. So we wanted to branch out and talk about some other topics, and that includes history, or prehistory is what we call like anything like paleontology, stuff like that. We talk film, literature, and of course the paranormal. And so these are actually some of the places you can find us. We've been on the Travel Channel in the Evil Encounters episode where we talked about Kiowa's Third Bridge. Have any of you guys heard of Third Bridge? So Third Bridge is out in Smoky Hill, and when was that, mid-2000s, or in the late 90s, there was a car crash where a girl named Ashley had perished going to look. There's a lot of occult activity up there as well, and then there's been some murders, so it does add to the activity. We've also been on Paranormal Productions episode where we talked about Third Bridge. And then if you guys want, we actually have some of our stories written in 4 different books by Erica Gammon, kind of encompassing our whole entire history. And then we've been on some podcasts. If you look up top, you can see one But we've been on one, Max Maloney's Military X-Files recently, which is not on there yet. And we've actually had some credits going into some of historical sites, like the Jesse James Death House. Plus, our buddy Smitty, who's a local drummer, made a Halloween episode, and you can find one of our stories about Memon Ridge here in Castle Rock on his album, and we'll get to that story in a minute. And so this is where we'll get more into probably more exciting stuff, and that's our history and how we got into this realm. Because I don't think you just wake up and say, I want to go do ghost hunting. Me and my brother, we grew up a house in Founders called the Hamilton House, because it was on Hamilton Street. Not very creative with our naming. But we started experiencing stuff there probably about a year after we moved in. So we moved in 1999, started experiencing stuff in 2000. And we'll get more into that. I'll kind of give it over to Sam here to explain when he kind of first started getting into the paranormal.
Good evening. I first got started when I was at my cousin's house one night, and we kind of heard like a little kid running down the hall and what sounded like a little girl laughing. And that kind of was like the first time. And then the one time that really brought me into it was years later when I had a dog pass away, unfortunately. And then we thought, or I could have swore, me, my sister, and my mom could have swore we saw its like spirit coming running towards us, and that like kind of really brought me into it a lot more. And then from there I met these gentlemen, well, this gentleman at work, and then, well, at school, but then at work is when we kind of like really talked about it more. And then I went on an investigation with them at Memon Ridge, and then I was just like, well, you know what, this is pretty unique and interesting, so kind of enjoyed the experiences we've had and all the stuff we came across, and then just kind of went from there.
And so we'll let Matt come up here and talk about his kind of brief experiences, and we'll get in more.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt. My experience, not my first one, but the one that sticks out the most, happened when I was visiting family in Nevada. I was at my cousin's house, and we were talking a little bit about, you know, the spiritual world and feeling the presence. You can always feel an energy, whether it's kind of a cold energy, a happy energy, a warm energy, you get that feeling. So I told her, you know, your house kind of feels like, it feels weird, especially towards the back of their house. And she explained to me that, you know, when they go out of town and have people that come in to watch their dog, that once they go to that back room, all of a sudden there's that presence, like on the back of your neck, you feel like somebody's breathing on you. So I was like, all right, well, let's, you know, take some pictures around the house, see if we don't get any orbs or any apparitions. We were in the master bedroom when I was going through all the pictures. In the corner of one of the window wells was a lady, and I told my cousin, it's like, well, we got something here. In this bottom picture, you know, we zoomed in, thank goodness for digital cameras now, but there was a lady that, you know, she curly hair, looked very jolly, very happy. And I described her to my cousin, and, you know, her eyes got real big, and she's like, hang on one second. She ran to the kitchen area and brought out a picture of her mother-in-law, and I'm like, yeah, that's the lady right there, that's in the picture. And she had just told me that, you know, the mother-in-law passed away about a week ago, and in the bedroom where the picture was captured, the urn that contained the ashes of the mother-in-law were in that room still. And I was like, okay, well, she's obviously there, she's in the room. And I said, what's kind of funny is she's got a bunny with her, there's a bunny here. And she looked at me and she's like, Matt, her nickname was Bunny. So that was just, I think, the most powerful one for me. My most recent experience was actually right here in the club. One night when I was bartending, we had already closed down, I was getting ready to leave, and I was passing this middle hallway, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw an apparition standing there, and as soon as I looked at it, it floated back up into the ceiling. So I was able to experience something here. I know some bartenders have said they've seen stuff, they felt stuff, and others are like, "It's never happened to me." So it's kind of cool. I mean, it is out there. I think you just gotta, like I said, believe in what you see when you see it, you know.
All right, who's ready to close the bar down now, all right? All right, so I'll let my brother Colin talk about some experiences and I'll get into mine.
Howdy, howdy. So, back to the fun naming. So, we had this house on Willow Street, also up in Founders, and this was my first encounter with a spirit. Me and my brother were playing downstairs, and we had an open crawl space that led into dirt and stuff, but it was like partially finished. It's hard to explain that. But we were just playing, and then we happened to look through this toy box that the back fell out, and we could see into the crawl space. I just remember seeing just two red eyes just staring right back at us, and they were just floating, I don't like that. I just see them all the time. No. So when we moved to the Hamilton house, there was many different experiences with that house, and honestly, I feel like that was a portal to a not good place. But there was times where our dog Bailey, she would be in the corner barking, and this was, I'm gonna kill you bark, hair standing up, tail foaming at the mouth, just barking at the corner. And there's nothing there, but she saw something. And there was always times where we had this couch where the TV might be there, and there's like this little archway here, kind of where the bar is there, and you knew when someone was watching you, and you just had that very heavy, uneasy feeling. And I distinctly remember, like, everyone knows what a light bulb blowing out sounds like. Well, the basement, those sounded a lot more deeper, more violent when they went out. And ever since then, I never went down into that basement by myself anymore. And my brother can explain more because there was a crawl space there too.
Yes, because my bedroom was in the basement. Yeah, so my first experience was along with Colin, the red eyes, but when we moved to Hamilton, it would probably have been what we call the penguin, because at one point we had a bunk bed in our room, and we had gone into a room, we had a big window in front of the bunk bed, so light shone in really well. And as we're walking towards it, I stopped because I had my one hand on the ladder and my foot on the ladder, and I saw like something like that. And for some reason in my mind, I thought it was one of our dogs had gone under a sheet. So I reached out towards it, and it was all like, and then we ran out of the room, so I don't know what it was. But my next experience happened in my mom's room because we had gone to the point where we were kind of scared to sleep in our own rooms. And so we would fall asleep in our mom's room, and then our dad would take us into our rooms when he got home. And I remember one night I was looking at the door, and I could have sworn that my dad was standing there like he had just shut the door. And so I thought I was going to be funny and scare him because we were all kind of experiencing stuff. And so I was waiting, but he didn't turn around. And he actually went like this, like he was locking the door, but there wasn't locks on the door. So I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on. But then it was like, whatever it was sensed me, because then it was like, it looked at me, and I could see its cheekbones. It had very distinct cheekbones, spiky hair, like blue almond eyes with like a purple haze around it. And it came towards us, and then it just dissipated. And then I was downstairs for the rest of the night. But yeah, the basement was really weird. I think any of my friends or uncle who would spend the night sometimes and sleep down there, or myself, experienced something in the basement. The weirdest ones was because I had a bed here, there was one crawl space door on that side, and then one crawl space door up here. And it was really hard to open the one over here because the carpet was higher. But I remember one night it opened, and then it closed. And I had my eyes closed because I don't want to see what was going on. And I could feel my bed like something was brushing alongside of it, and then you heard the other door open and close. And so while we lived in that house, we never really talked about it. Like it was, even to this day, we're still friends with our old neighbor that lived up there. Anytime we go up there, I still feel something there. And so it gives us a really weird sense. But about that time, like I said, is when Ghost Hunters came out in 2007. And so that's kind of what got us thinking, because we're like, hey, if they can do it, we can do it. Now, obviously, we weren't as good at looking back at some of those old videos. But we've been lucky enough to hit some of the famous sites, be it Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. We have done the Stanley Hotel, which is one of those pictures. Nothing, didn't feel anything up there. One of our favorite locations is here in Castle Rock. It's the Castle Rock Chamber of Commerce. Some of you might know it by Victoria's House. Our plaque is still hanging up there as far as I remember, but we captured some of our favorite EVPs at that location. And so I think that's it for this part. We're going to get some videos coming up here in a second. We're going to do a little activity before we get to the videos. But have you guys heard of any haunted places or been to any haunted places? Experienced anything?
The Stone Church.
Yeah, the old stone church there.
Did you ever do any research on your home to see,
We-
lived there
What was
before,
the hideaway?
or,
Yeah, we were
burial
the
ground, or?
yeah, no, we were the second owners as far as I remember. And before that, it did sit abandoned, because in the early 90s there was a housing boom and then no one was buying houses. So there was a year window before the first owners had moved in. But no deaths, no burial grounds or anything like that. There is a place in Colorado that they made a movie about. It's Cheeseman Park. I know everyone probably thinks of the Stanley Hotel and The Shining. We've been there, we haven't experienced anything, doesn't mean there's nothing there, but Cheeseman Park, on the other hand, used to be a cemetery, Old Town Cemetery. There is a movie called The Changeling with George C. Scott in it, and it's been changed in the movie to Seattle, but it is about Cheeseman Park here in Denver. The director actually lived in the house, and to this day, there's still about 2,000 bodies underneath the park. If you go in the early spring, you can see where the bodies are because they turn green. The grass is greener quicker. So we're going to do a little activity before we get to the videos.
Wasn't it the hideaway too, remember? The hideaway, I saw that ghost.
Yeah, the hideaway is another one.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to investigate it yet. Sam wanted to talk about Lemon Ridge real quick before we do our activity.
So, Lemon Ridge, the one that I first started at, we had a couple of experiences there. Along one of the first experiences that I was with the group, Keegan was leading, then it was me behind him, and then our buddy Josh behind me, and we were going down one of the paths that's close to the river by the high school. It was past the high school at this point, coming up. Oh yeah, no, elementary school, sorry. That's my bad. The elementary school coming up on the church, and we heard rustling to our right because we were heading towards the church, and then all of a sudden we hear something barreling down the pathway, and then it cuts in between us, and then it went further down. But we didn't actually see an object there, we just saw the leaves moving in that spot and the leaves moving over there. And we felt something rush past us, but we couldn't see anything. And then there is other times up there where we caught an EVP and slight apparition, but we're going to get back to that one. And then also, I wasn't there for this one, but there was an Ouija board incident up there as well, which has kind of changed that one for a while.
So how many people have played with an Ouija board? So fun fact, Hasbro makes the Ouija board. It was made in the late 1800s. It actually did not have a bad stigma until a certain movie came out. Does anyone know what movie that is? Starts with an E.
Exorcist.
There we go, Exorcist. Alright, so real quick before we get to videos and stuff, we are going to switch to one of the other paranormal fields. and that is cryptids, because right now, I know there's that big video of the train going by, and there's most likely a guy in a suit dressed like Bigfoot walking around in Colorado, if you guys have seen that. But we are gonna do some arts and crafts today. As you can see, there is a blank piece of paper on the table. And so we are going to give you some descriptions of cryptids out of a book, Hunting Monsters, and then see how close everyone gets it based off of just eyewitness descriptions.
So you want us to draw what you're describing?
Yes.
Is it a picture?
Yeah, so we're gonna draw three.
Thank you.
We're gonna draw three cryptids, so don't make them too big. They don't have to be too detailed, but I just wanna see what everyone comes up with. All right, so this first cryptid stands upright. So you got a picture, a vertical creature, and it does have a deer-like head. So you gotta draw like a deer head. So this creature has two arms, and it's usually pretty muscular. So pretty buff-looking creature. This creature also has a long tail. It has big, muscular feet that some people describe as clown feet. Very descriptive there. Now, every once in a while, they have also seen this cryptid with two heads, one on the stomach. And that is going to be the end for cryptid 1. All right, so is everyone good with their first creature? No?
Is that a Teletubby?
It is not a Teletubby. Did you just break the pencil in half? There's no lead in the pencil. That is a lead.
Build back better.
That is really weird. Alright, so let's move on to creator number 2. This one is a 4-legged animal. It has a giraffe-like head. It has a short neck. It's not quite like a giraffe, but it's kind of in between what you'd see in a deer and a giraffe. And then it has like kind of a moose-like body. And the last description is the back of it is striped like a zebra. All right, and then we will move to our final one. This one from Braxton County, West Virginia. Now, the people that saw this did see it for a whole 10 seconds, so the description is not very well. The body of the creature was kind of like a club on a card.
A what?
Kind of like a club on a card.
Oh, on a card. Like an upside down heart. Okay.
And speaking of heart, there is a red heart-like shape in the middle of the club. Oh, your TV died, Matt. The ghost got it. And the last description they gave was that it flew at them and made a loud hissing noise. There is pictures and high quality pictures of all three of these animals.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, boys.
This is how they describe the flatwoods. That's why it's so weird. So the last one you drew was the original description of the Flatwoods monster in Flatwoods, West Virginia. If you look up at it now, it looks very much different, but the actual creature is a barn owl.
Oh, how does it look like a club?
That's just what the kids said they saw for 10 seconds. The second creature that you drew is an okapi. It's a relative of the giraffe. They too are once considered cryptids. You can go see them at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. And the very first animal you drew, do you guys have any guesses on what that could be?
Oh, a two-headed man. What?
A human deer.
A human deer?
They are native to Australia.
Oh, kangaroo.
Kangaroos, yeah. So kangaroos, okapis, gorillas, amongst other animals, were all considered cryptids at one point. And these were the actual descriptions that people were given. So you can see where cryptids might come from is a lot of the time misidentification. This is very much what people claim to be the original sketches, but it's a much later detailed sketch that they just keep adding on. But if you look at it, because no one described a tell until the late 1990s. Yeah, the green bush at the bottom. It's very much in the description of a female barn owl, especially the red pattern on the face, in a defensive stance when they have their nest, which they are known to lay their eggs in trees, and the very same trees that these kids saw this purported monster for a whole 10 seconds. Yeah, so that's the okapi. And then, before we get to the videos, our third branch of paranormal is UFOs, and I'll have Sam come up because he is our kind of ufologist of the group.
So, I've been pretty interested in the aerial phenomenons, or UAPs as they call them now. Used to be UFOs, which was unidentified flying objects. Now they have it as the aerial phenomenon. And I have seen what I think is 2 of them. I'm not going to say that I have to actually, or like that they were actually UFOs, but just the way that they were, I can't really explain it. There's one that I wanted to investigate, and I haven't gotten up there yet because I was up there hanging out with a buddy in Keystone, and we were on like one side of the mountains, and like on the other side, I just saw this like straight beam of lights that were like perfect circles, and I wear glasses, so like lights usually reflect off of them. These were just like perfect, just perfect circles that were like rotating. There was like no like light reflection that comes off of them, which was kind of weird for me seeing that with glasses. And I just saw it rotating, and me and this other person were like watching it, and it was just like, that's kind of weird, I don't know why that's like that. And then all of a sudden they just vanished, either just left really quickly or just like went invisible at that point. But then a couple minutes later, because we just sat there watching it for a while, there was this orange flame, or like, there was this orange light that kind of looked like a flame in the trees. And then we continued to watch it for a little bit longer, and then car lights ended up turning on, and then they were driving down the mountain, but they weren't like, the way they were driving was not really normal. It seemed like maybe we witnessed the aftermath of an abduction potentially, just because of how they were driving down, how they sat there for a little while. But then again, I'm not actually sure if that was the case. So I wanted to go back up there and kind of like check it out and hike up to where it was to try and see if it was that way. See if there was something else that could explain that from there. My buddy did say earlier in that night, because he went out to just like kind of look over like the cliff that we were at, and he saw some sort of lights like come down from the clouds and then just kind of quickly go back up above it. So there's a good chance that we potentially saw something that night. The other sighting that I have had was actually here in Castle Rock. I was at my family's place off of the west or east frontage road, and it was like kind of towards Crystal Valley, where Crystal Valley is at. And there was like this silver object that was just like underneath the cloud level, and like I can easily tell that it was just like really metallic, it was reflective. I was like watching it for about 30 minutes, it did not move at all. And then I went inside to go get binoculars to go get a closer look at it. And when I came back out, it was just gone. So I don't really know what I saw at that time, but like, it was definitely very interesting and pretty unique to see. And then I'll hand it off to Colin because he had that sighting as well.
I'm not entirely sure if that's the same sighting. Was it the one with the 3 lights? This house is called Mountain Sky. Very original at the most. But this house was also in Crystal Valley. We did capture a similar phenomenon in that area. There was a light that we were watching that slowly approach, and we were thinking this is just aircraft, because we all know that the aircrafts always fly over our houses and it's always fun to watch them. But this one was different because of the way it was kind of flying. Now, I don't know if we have the video because it was shot on our old camcorder, the old tape camcorder. But we captured it kind of flying towards us, and it had 3 lights on it, one in the center and 3 really bright, or 2 bright ones on what you would call the wings. But it was super quiet. And everyone knows what a plane's at low altitude sounds like when it flies over your house. You can hear the roar of the jets or the propellers of the propeller planes and stuff. But this one didn't sound like anything. Now, originally we were thinking, well, let's try to debunk this. We were kind of looking at, like, you know, the military has the stealth bombers and all that stuff, so you kind of know the shapes of it. So it could have been that, but I don't know. I guess at nighttime it's hard to tell what it is. But I just remember watching it come towards the house and just kind of go towards Denver. It never like flew over our house, so we couldn't get like a good viewing of it.
Yeah, and I know the UFO phenomenon has also been in the news lately. There was a congressional hearing, was it about a month ago, 2 months ago? And so it's been in the news. There have been actual studies, usually done by the Air Force, one of which was Project Blue Book. They made a TV series about it. Dr. Alan Hynek was brought in to debunk the UFOs. He was a physicist at college, and by the end of it, they had to push him out, and he said that there's definitely unidentified objects that are not our own, which we've seen some videos in 2017 released by the military. And if you guys want the place in the United States with the most amounts of UFO sightings is here in Colorado. It's called the Cosmic Highway. It's down near Alamosa. And if you look up the UFO Watchtower, you'll actually be able to find it. You can go camping and everything up there. But we're going to get to the fun part. Enough of us kind of just talking. We want to show you guys some evidence. So this first one was filmed up in Monument, Colorado at an investigation. We'll play it one time and then we'll talk about it.
What's your name?
Is that a spirit box? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, that is a spirit box. Were you guys able to hear it?
Yeah.
You can turn it up a little.
Are you asking questions and it responded Amanda?
Yeah, so we ask what its name is, and it responds Amanda.
Is this your guys'? Did you guys film this?
Mm-hmm.
I'll try it one more time.
What's your name?
Yeah, so we get 3 words from the spirit box, all in the same female voice. Unfortunately, in this room, the homeowner's daughter did pass away. Her name was Amanda, and the family has confirmed that that was her voice. So it's one of our kind of favorite EVPs to show. It's kind of sad to listen to, but it's one of our favorites.
So you were investigating her home and she came through?
Yes, Beth owns the house up in Monument. This was filmed in Amanda's room. She was just having some troubles, moved back in. They had been experiencing stuff in that house well before, and so that's kind of why they brought us in. We did not expect to find that, and that's kind of what makes that one exciting.
Did that give the parents comfort to hear that?
Yeah, we've got a lot of comments on that one because all of them are on YouTube, and so they've been able to share it with family members. And we get a lot of comments from other family members just about how much closure they've gotten and how thankful that we were able to catch it for them. Which we can never guarantee we'll catch anything. We always tell people that. We've had people very angry at us. And I'm like, well, if it was a actual science that we could predict everything, it wouldn't be so pseudoscience, you know? So, here, don't play, Emma. You'll be looking kind of in this area here. Oh, don't play, don't play. Alright, so did you guys see the light turn on in the, so this was from our second trip to Adams State University in Alamosa. This is filmed in their auditorium where they do plays and musical performances. The first time we were there, the lights in the auditorium kept going on and off. And so the second time we were in, we set up our DVR system. We have 8 cameras, so we put 2 of them in the balcony because the doors were locked because they were about to do their performance. And yeah, Sam was showing you the DVR system. So we weren't able to get onto the first floor, so we just kind of angled them down towards the stage, so maybe if something went on stage, we would see it. Now, this door doesn't have an exit. That's or another entrance or exit, I should say. This is the only way to get into that room. And it's just a storage for props, musical, stands and stuff like that. And so it's motion, we found out. There's no switches in there. And so the only way, when we were able to finally get security to come in and unlock the bottom doors for us, to get the light to turn on and off was by walking into the door and walking about a foot inside the room. And so that one's kind of interesting because, of course, you would see if somebody entered or exited the room there.
And the interesting thing about this light is because when we were setting this up, the light was actually on for us when we were setting it up in the auditorium. So when we watched the camera and we saw it turn on, we were just like, wasn't that always on? But like somebody else was watching and they were like, no, it just turned on. So Colin and I went back in the video and sure enough, the light actually turned off at some point and then turned back on for us. And then it continued to do that throughout the night. I think it happened like 2 more times.
Yeah, and Adams State's really cool. It's one of the oldest colleges in Colorado. This is also at Adams State. This is in their medical wing, so they have a lot of people going for nursing and doctor degrees and medical degrees of all sorts. And this is the lounge where they hang out in between classes. Now, this was our contact, Jordan. He was the one that helped us get in. And then this is Gavin, who is now in charge of their paranormal group. So just keep an eye on Gavin. So you might want to replay it. So if you look, keep an eye like right here. And if you see something like tugged on his hoodie, and you actually see Jordan react to it, and then he reacts to it. We didn't know we caught this one, but Gavin came out to us and was like, yeah, my shoulder feels really weird ever since we were in the lounge. And the first time we went to the lounge, or the first time we went to the college at all, the lounge was like a real hot spot because we had like 30 students going around and they were all attracted to this area. We're not sure why, but that is something that we found at that one. Colin will talk a little bit about his experience there.
Well, going back to that evidence too, when we first caught that, we were trying to figure out, okay, was that Gavin just twitching or something? And we were really trying to pay attention to the elbow and the hand, because you can see him kind of just relaxing his hand here. And we tried doing this. We spent a good, probably 30 minutes trying to figure out a good way to debunk this. And at this moment, we still can't figure out what that was. So it could have been the spirit grabbing, just trying to get their attention in there. That was a really big hot spot the first time we went there. The second time, I guess, it knew there was a camera in there, so it was a very opposite. It knows it was being watched. That college had a lot of interesting experiences. There was times where I got that same feeling we had in the Hamilton house, where you knew someone was watching you. You knew someone was over your back or just right next to you. There was a few anomalies that we caught that was really hard to explain as it does. And I don't know if we have those queued up yet.
Colin also got a scare one of the students. It was really quite funny.
So I didn't know that there was a couple of the kids came downstairs, and I walked downstairs and there was this ramp kind of leading down to the first floor. And you could see outside and there was a back alley, but there was that emergency staircase here. And I could have sworn I saw someone walk up that staircase. So I just sat there just kind of looking, and I could see I'm sorry. But I saw the two investigators come around the corner, and they just stopped. Because I was in all black, so they told me all they saw was my face. So I'm just like, hello? They put this.
I didn't put that one on. It was funny because me and Jordan were walking around and we just heard them like freak out and run into the wall.
I about died laughing.
And it turned out it was Colin. Yeah, so this video is like 10 years old. We will play this one. That one was at the Chamber of Commerce. This one was back at that monument house we were telling you about with the Amanda one.
What?
Kill yourself?
Do you want to come talk since you're the one that heard it, man?
Well, this one we were walking down to the basement, just talking, whoever's here, come out, let us know you're here. And I actually heard it over the EVP, and I went to Keegan and I said, I think something just said, go kill yourselves.
Is that what it said?
Yeah, no, and we did rewind it, and sure enough, this demonic type voice said, go kill yourselves. Like that, it was like, okay. But the Monument House was something way different. Like that was an experience like none other. This was a true demonic entity in the house. This was another apparition I saw. But this one was a little bit more creepy. We'll keep it PG for now. But, we can do an adult talk about the Monument House. But it was an experience like none other. So, like I said, you never know what type of apparition or entity you come across. Some are very peaceful, some are a little bit more angry, but those are the ones that we don't refer to as like somebody's spirit. They at that point, they're a demon. Once they mean harm, they're no longer a ghost or anything else like that. They are, in that terminology, demon.
So this was when we were investigating the men's ridge, and it was, I want to say January, we were up there, so it was snowpack, so it was kind of cold out, and we're going down the center, and this is probably one of our favorite evidences that we've got. There's a few that we hold deep to our hearts. We call it Lawrence.
What is your name? Why are you here?
So it was,
Drop the light. Drop the light. Yeah, so they can see it.
Do you guys ever get scared when you're doing it like pitch black?
Not when it's like pitch black. I don't get scared there. It's just, there's been times where you feel uneasy. And, like there's been times in that Willow house, for example, where I've had things thrown, or Hamilton house where I've had things thrown at me. Oh yeah, I was scared.
Bobby, no phone.
What is your name? Why are you here?
Out of nowhere.
So
And
if you look closely on the right side of the screen, you'll see kind of a mist kind of breeze by it. And around that same time is where we caught the EVP of the spirit saying Lawrence. So
What is your name?
Oh, I saw that.
I don't know if you guys saw it, it was right over
Can you
this
replay,
area.
Mr. Matt?
Yeah, so watch in this area if you guys can see the mouse. Kind of.
So that was without the EVP. And you'll see the
Why are you
spirit.
here?
out of nowhere. Here.
What is your name?
Yeah.
It's kind of right in there.
No, look
so-
at that.
And with the camera that we had at the time, we were able to go frame by frame. And you could see it manifest kind of towards the top here and kind of grow. And right when it hits this area,
What is your name?
Can we turn the lights back on?
Yeah,
So-
turn the lights back on.
yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, so you hear the name Lawrence.
Why don't you explain it, Keegan?
Yeah, so that in itself is kind of odd. This was filmed in 2008, so it's right when we started ghost hunting. And so our mom was trying to help us out, get us some, things to hold the equipment with, because it'd be a hassle to keep, carrying all those in King Super bags like we were. And she found a really nice suitcase, a briefcase. Not that one, the other one. But she found it at the local thrift store, in really good condition. She brought it home to clean it. And I remember I was working, and she called and she was like, "You'll never believe what I found, but I'm not going to tell you till I get home." So I get home, and we find out that there's a death certificate in the briefcase. And do you guys know what the name was on the briefcase?
Lawrence.
So Matt will jump a little bit ahead to actually show you the picture of said certificate.
I bet you it's Lawrence.
'Cause it's in the video.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the name Lawrence. So it was kind of weird that we had seen this apparition. It said its name was Lawrence, and then the certificate also said Lawrence. It's kind of weird because later in the video, I don't think we'll show it, but we were in New York City. We were in New York City at the the World Trade Center Memorial at the fountains. And the first night we got there, it was closed off because they were putting up some statues for the 93 stuff. And so the second night we were able to go. It's really beautiful and calming. And I had set my hand down, and when I looked down, the name was Lawrence. So it's kind of weird that this name follows us. You got a question?
Yeah, did you ask them
No, because we didn't, this was really early on before the spirit boxes and everything. So we didn't know that we caught any of this until we got back to our house and we were watching it. This expedition was really interesting because we heard a lot of different voices. We're going to show you one of our most recent ones now.
Was that one in 2021? It says updated in 2021 on that.
Yeah, it was updated in 2021 when we brought it to our new channel. We had an old channel, and we put in like the World Trade Center stuff and when it had all that stuff had happened. All right, so we are back in the auditorium of Adams State University. This one is closer up, but keep an eye on the kind of right bottom of the screen there.
Bottom right. Oh, whoa, whoa. Whoa.
Hi, buddy.
That's very clear.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah, that's like easy to see.
Yeah, even we have one gentleman on our group, Andrew, who's our like skeptic of the team, and even he was like, "No, that's a face. I don't know what's." And luckily, with our DVRs, we have 8 cameras around the entire building, so we were able to find where each of us were. And it's just the face, and this next time we play a map, we'll play it a little bit longer. You'll see something come behind it too. It's kind of weird.
See that first thing pop up? Like before? It looks like a snake.
Well, then no, it's a cat. Meow.
Oh, yeah.
Face. I think it's face when you kind of see the nose a little bit.
Yeah, so that one's weird. We actually didn't capture or see that live, even though we had it on our screen with our DVRs. We didn't see it until we got back and were reviewing the evidence a week later. And we were like, wow, that's really cool. And we tried debunking it for a while, but again, our skeptic was like, no, it's a face. It's clearly a face. We're going to talk a little bit now about the equipment and what each of them do. We'll have Sam and Colin kind of discuss that.
Alright, so with ghost hunting, there's a variety of tools out there that you could get. As simple as it is an EVP recorder. All it does is record voices. And it's really good for capturing the voices that you can't hear. It has a more sensitive microphone. So you can hear the frequencies that humans can't hear and it can record it. There's another essential tool, communication. You could be in as big as a building as Adams State or as small as a building as this. Communication is key, especially when you're trying to figure out if, say, your buddy's in the kitchen there or try to debunk things. But the key thing in any investigation is batteries. If you're going to get into this trade, batteries are your friends. Rechargeable batteries are definitely your friends. They'll save you a lot more money.
So, the ones that I mainly use is either cameras or I set up these ones, which are actually,
It's like a grid.
but they are like grid lights, so that we set these up so if we see stuff pass through them, it can catch them on the cameras and you can see the lights like pass through it. Like if I put my hand like that, it would like move the grid and then also show like if something passed through there, and then you can catch it easier on the cameras. We kind of explained the DVR system. We have like 8 of those. Some of them have night visions, the others.
They have mock night vision, but it's the night vision on those are a little older than the newer ones here. And of course, you got your still cameras. They're still very valuable in ghost hunting. You got your video recorders as well. We also have a 4K one that we don't have here at the moment, but we also have a 4K GoPro as well. The GoPro, I don't believe has night vision, so it kind of captures what we're seeing. Like, I know Ghosts of Interest does it where they could switch off their cameras or show like a little side camera where it shows what they're seeing. Then we got our Spirit Box. This is what goes through a ton of radio channels super fast, and it just creates white noise, which allows the spirits to kind of easily communicate because it's giving the spirits the ability to talk through the channels and use their energy to kind of formulate words. And it's, with it going through the channels at a high rate of speed, it's really hard for it to actually connect to a radio station. So that's where you can kind of weed out the radio interferences and all that stuff. And then Matt likes using the EVP recorder. He also uses the Spirit Box. So we have two different ones. Matt has like the older one, and then we got a newer one right here. I'm gonna let you guys come up and look at it if you guys want. But the difference between the Spirit Box and the EVP is unless you have headphones in the EVP recorder, you're not gonna hear it till later. The Spirit Box actually plays, and Spirit Box you hear during the investigation, so that's when you can communicate with it and ask it questions. This is definitely newer. We kind of made a really redneck version of this using a boombox when we were like 15 and stuff, but it works. So we do have the full spectrum lights, and then we have a rosary because you never know what you're gonna get into in some of these locations. I'm not too afraid. In fact, when we go to locations and they're supposed to be haunted, I sleep even better. So. So that's the end of our presentation. So again, we want to thank you guys for coming out. Does anyone have questions or anything that they want to ask? And of course, we are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads. Goodreads is usually just research books, but if you want to see what we're researching and where we get all that stuff, that's where we're on. We do have a TikTok, though we're not really on it anymore. But yeah, I would say if you guys want to follow us, probably Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are the best options. Thank you guys for joining. You can turn on. But if you guys want to come up, and feel free to come look at some of the equipment.
We have. Orbs are kind of weird. They're good for the ghost activity because they're like balls of electricity. But
When I was
I'll do it.
an infant
You need an
and
account to be able to.
old enough to sit in a high chair, my entire family describes a blue light coming from, and our house was a dugout that had been locked up when it was new. A blue light come down out of the light fixture, circle my head, and then go back up. And everyone that was there describes the exact same thing. And they all just sat there because they were afraid what would happen if they grabbed me or moved or anything. And I just wondered what it is.
yeah, we're not sure because through our research, like we've done a lot of UFO research and cryptid research. Orbs are in all of them, so I'm not sure exactly what they are, but they are seen in all of them, so it's kind of these are electricity, and if you see a lot of them, it's good because then the spirits can use them to manifest.
It's the only one they ever saw. Of course, then they built another house on, they moved another old house onto the front of this dugout we lived in, and that became my bedroom. And I never felt uncomfortable or anything, but that's the only, and there were several witnesses.
That's like our experience with Ashley, the spirit that died at Fairbridge. We never felt like any negativity, and she talked to us, and it just felt like
It was comforting.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people think there's just negative spirits, but a lot of times, yeah, I would say more often than not, it's just normal spirits. So,
Yeah, they usually
yeah. Every once in a while, there's those, but not as often as I'd like, because they make good for camera footage and stuff.
You know, have you guys run across Terry Albright? He was producer of Finding Bigfoot. He's from my hometown.
Oh, really?
He did a lot of research on paranormal stuff.
Okay. I'll have to look. I've definitely heard of Finding Bigfoot. I don't know why it's
They're ready for the movie.
I'm ready for bed, I think.